Hey there, ladies. And yes, I did say ladies. I have a question for you. Do you feel overwhelmed with uncertainty or a lack of clarity as you head into your day? Or maybe you struggle with the anxiety of wanting more, but not knowing how to make the necessary changes in the midst of being a mom, raising baby, grocery shopping, all the things, but you're ready. You're ready to wake up feeling focused and aligned with the dreams that God has given you so you can wholeheartedly pursue what matters most in your faith, family, and career. If that's you, then I want to gift you with a free mini course where I literally give you my morning routine for success. That's right. Being a mom of 5 under the age of 9, I know firsthand how important our mornings are. And with my proven faith-based daily routine, you too can align your actions and your dreams in just 15 minutes a day. This morning routine is not just about getting up early. It's about cultivating the right mindset, heart set, and dream set that will encourage you and equip you in arising and aligning every morning. Click on the link below and you can receive this free gift today. Don't spend the rest of your life just dreaming about the life you want. Arise to the challenge and create the life you want one morning at a time.
Have you found yourself wondering, is there something more? If so, then you, my friend, are a dreamer in waiting. I'd like to welcome you to the Dream On podcast. I'm Julia Gentry, and along with my husband, Travis Gentry, we discuss real, raw, and not small talk conversations about faith, family, entrepreneurship, and all the things that matter most in this life in order to help people bridge the gap between what they currently have and what they really want most. Join us as we give you insights, tools, and strategy to chase every dream that's on the inside of you. But be forewarned, this podcast is not for the faint of heart, but rather those of heart. This is the Dream On podcast.
Welcome to the Dream On podcast. I am Julia Gentry.
And I am Travis Gentry.
And today is my turn. I get to ask Mr. Gentry the questions. So my question to you, for those of you who are like, what question? What are we doing here? If you haven't joined us on a Dream On podcast, we just start lighthearted or maybe the deep waters, but we like to just randomly ask each other questions that are off the cuff and unplanned. And so my question to you is, what is one thing that you would have told your younger you that you know now that you wish you could have known then?
Just one thing.
One thing. One thing.
The first thing that pops in my mind is get in line, stay in line. So with whatever you're pursuing, with that, whatever you feel called to do, is to not be distracted by the things of this world. And I think whether it's friends or family or the news or the enemy, I think it's easy to be distracted from the purpose that you have in you.
Mm.
And I think that there's been a couple times in life I potentially was 3 feet from gold.
I think that's the idea of like being at the grocery store and you're like,
it's
okay,
100%.
Like,
every time I'm at the grocery store, I'm like, I better pick the line because I'm going to get in line. I'm going to stay in line. I'm going to be okay with the results I have here.
No, here's a totally different thing. When you have 5 kids at the grocery store, which we don't always recommend that you do that, but you're like, okay, this might not go well. So I have to get in the fastest line. So you go, I'm going to choose that line because it looks like it's moving fast. And you get in it and then you see the other lines moving quicker. And so you want to change lines, which I do. And then you get in that line and you see that your line actually went faster. So
all you do is say, Malachi, as you go in that line, I'm going to go on this line and we'll see which one goes first. And then I'll jump over.
Target, they're like, here come the Gentrys again. They like to dominate the line.
Yeah, we have 5 lines. Kids, spread out. See if we can pick the fastest line here.
Okay, get in line and stay in line. Well, anyone who wants to take that information and run with it now, there's that. But today is really cool because we are talking about something that I think is really important at the start of a new year, but really any time of year, which is how to arise and align, which is really a conversation on mastering your morning routine, which is just timely for this time of year. Especially, because everyone's setting New Year's resolutions and how they want to start the year off right. And
Or they're not.
Or they're not.
Or they're not. There's a certain percentage that don't even do it anymore.
Oh my gosh, no, it's such a low percentage. It's actually 43% of people even set New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
It's really sad. So for those of you, 43% of Americans who set New Year's resolutions, this is for you. But then get this, of the 43% that set a New Year's resolution, 23% quit after week 1. That's 7 days. Like, let's break this down. So of the 41 that said it, 23 have given up by week 1. 43% have quit by the end of January. And of the initial 41 that started, only 9% actually achieved their goals. Like, that is such a low percentage. It's almost sad.
It is sad. It's very sad.
Like, it gets me thinking, first and foremost, 43% are even willing to set a New Year's goal. Like, that is
I'm going to be honest with you.
That's such a low number.
I don't set a New Year's resolution. I don't set a New Year's goal because it's just like
All the time.
consistent.
Yeah.
So I'm in that camp. So maybe that percentage of people, they're just always setting goals.
Well, let's hope for that.
Accomplishing them. But I don't set goals anymore. Like, I'm going to wait until the 1st or Friday or next week or the 1st of the year. And you're like, and then the 1st comes and you're like tired and exhausted from the holidays or whatever excuse that you have. And then it's like, you push it out a week or two and then you're like, it's not even the 1st anymore. I'll wait until next year. Like,
I'll wait 360
there's always something. So it's like, if I want to accomplish something, the mindset is, one, I have to think, do I really want to accomplish this? Mm-hmm. And then what goals around it am I going to put in place to accomplish that goal now?
Okay. So here's where this got real for me. I'm not far behind you in that methodology, where I don't actually view the new year as like, okay, this is the perfect time to be setting a New Year's goal. However, where rubber hit the road for me and started to unpack this morning routine and why this became so important to me close to a year ago was because I started to recognize that I had goals and dreams of where I wanted to be next, but I was having a really hard time figuring out, how do I fit those into my today? Because I was maxing out in my day. You know, this is when we just had Roxy. So it was like 5 kids, growing the business. We were thinking about moving at that time. And so I had this like quiet desperation of, I have dreams. Like, I can see what I want to create. I just have no clue how to fit this in my day or how to sustain good energy throughout the day, like literally emotionally good energy. And so this is where it took me down the path of, how do I actually not just set a good goal, which is not what we're talking about today on the podcast, but how do I create a different morning routine that sets me up for success for the rest of my day?
As opposed to being on autopilot and living subconscious throughout the day, which most people do. And we don't have the stats, but it's amazing how many people just wake up and go through this exact same routine, but don't love the life that they have currently in some capacity.
Yeah.
Whether it's physically, financially, mentally, whatever it is, but they're not willing to say, okay, I got to wake up. I got to do something different, because the first domino starts to affect the rest of your day. And if you're starting off that first domino the same way, then you're probably going to get the same results.
Which it's interesting because the word routine actually means fixed program. And when you look at that, the definition of that, and you dig deeper, it is not built on for any special reason. And so when I started to study what a routine actually is, we all know what routines are. Like, we talk about this, one of those sticky words, like, but a routine is actually something that we do unconsciously, just automatically for no special reason. Right. But it's something that we continue to do over and over and over again. And then a lot of times what happens is we do these routines that we're just comfortable with. And so if I keep doing a routine that I'm comfortable with, I'm actually never going to go outside of my comfort zone. I'm never going to do something different because I'm in this fixed program that's going to get me the same results, but then I'm going to be insane because I want different results. But I didn't actually take the time to say, is my routine getting me more of what I've always had? Or is my routine getting me something that I really want most?
And there again, you have to decipher the whole thing of like, get in line, stay in line. Yes, there are some routines that you just have to put in the work, and it seems redundant. And sometimes the bored, redundant routine of something is going to get you the result in the long run that you want.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not. And are you doing the right work in the right area of life.
Yeah.
And I think that's really where that's where starting off your morning right helps you to look at that and say, okay, here's kind of what I'm doing. And I like these areas of my life and I'm getting the results I want, but these areas I don't like. I need to change, but what do I need to change? And then you can start to set goals and start to process. So tell us about your process in rising and aligning in the morning.
I'm addicted to this, but I think you hit on one more point that I think is important to know, because I think that there's a difference between a routine, an unconscious routine that's built in comfortability, and a get in line, stay in line routine that's built with a fixed purpose. And though you might get bored doing it, there's a fixed purpose to it. So routine is not bad or good, right? It's just a word, right? Back to our last podcast where it's like, it's just a word, but there's already, so for me, if we had pulled that word out of a hat a year ago, I would have rejected it at all costs. Like, I don't like routine. I don't like and here's why. You like adventure and you like going home a different way. That would not be my experience. Like, for the audience, just so you know, like, we'll be coming home from the trampoline park and Travis will take the long way home. And I don't feel that that's efficient, because one of my core values is efficiency, where Travis's is adventure. But I've learned just not to even say anything to you, because you like adventure. So you want to go home a different way. Is that fair to say?
I do it for other reasons too.
Why? I just see if I'm paying attention.
No, it has nothing to do with that. No, I don't want to go down the weeds on that one.
Okay, so but anyways, mine is not necessarily for adventure. I would have never liked a routine, because I don't like the confines of having to do what it tells me to do. Like, I like the freedom to explore whatever my way, right? So had you asked me over a year ago, how would I define routine? I would have said, I don't like them, and I find no freedom in them, and they're not something that work for me. I probably would have even said, like, they work for, right, unmotivated people, but I actually don't need one. I want the freedom in my day to wake up and decide whatever I want to do. That would have been my answer a year ago. My answer today is very different.
Keep going.
So my answer today is very different, because I started to realize that, yes, I want freedom and flexibility to wake up and decide. Like, that's why we're business owners. That's why we homeschool our kids. Like, I think that there's a lot there, but I was starting to realize that I would wake up and, based upon my feelings, determined what I actually got done in those early hours. Like, if I didn't feel like writing, I didn't. If I felt like doing push-ups, I would, but then the next day I wouldn't. And like, it was like this, a little bit of, I was slowly letting my emotions of what I felt like that day get in the way of what I wanted most. What I wanted most was sustained energy. What I wanted most was to be fit. What I wanted most was like to be mentally resilient. And I found myself on this roller coaster of, if I don't feel it, I'm not going to do it. If I don't feel it, I'm not going to do it. And then I just wasn't doing it. And I just wasn't doing it. And I just wasn't doing it.
What was the difference between waking up and feeling it and waking up and not? Like, was there something that you could tie to that, of like, I woke up and like, I was like ready to jump out of bed, and then the opposite of, I don't really feel like doing a whole lot, or I'm tired, or, like.
I think it was just a mind that wasn't fixed on what I learned to do in my routine, which wasn't fixed on truth, right? Because when I wake up, if I feel a certain way, you don't wake up just feeling a certain way. You have a thought, right? And it might not be a conscious thought, but if I wake up feeling like a little scattered, well, I don't wake up feeling scattered. I wake up thinking a thought that's like, oh, dang, did I do everything I needed to get done? Boom, now I'm scattered. Or I wake up going, I don't want to do today. And so I feel kind of depressed or mopey. Well, I don't just wake up feeling depressed or mopey. I had an unconscious thought that was like, dang, I don't even want to do what I have to do today. Right. And so what was happening is that I was actually being more reactive to the day ahead of me, as opposed to saying, wait a minute, regardless of what the day is ahead of me, I need to get my mind right, my heart right, and I need to create space to get my dreams right. That's when I committed to a different way of looking at my routine.
And how has that transformed your life?
It's transformed my life in every way. Outside of marrying you.
Outside of
marrying you, it's the best thing I've ever done.
Waking up and aligning has transformed your life.
Yeah, outside of marrying you has changed my life. It really has. I think that when I consider, and this season, coming through the holidays, it shouldn't, but I just spend more time talking with the kids about the things that we're thankful for and grateful for, and what is the reason for the season, and all those things. It just becomes table talk. And I just think, Trav, who you are in my life has been a game changer. You create, you've just created the space for me to find who God's called me to be. And I think for any husband that's listening to this, I think the greatest gift that you could give your wife is the ability to look more like the person that God created her to be. And you've done that like so well. And so outside of that, this commitment to arise and align has changed everything for me. It really has. I mean, it's revealed like heavenly revelation that I didn't know I was missing. It's centered my heart in ways that I didn't know my heart wasn't centered. Because again, it wasn't like things were bad before, but they just weren't aligned, like it, or they were, but not totally. And then it's just given me the space to like see my dreams at new levels and start to build my dreams in ways that I would have never said I would have had time, or, there wasn't space to do that. And because you just give and give and give as a mom all day long. And so I wasn't actually getting my hands on my dreams anymore. I was just getting my hands on doing the things. So it feels like it's changed my life.
What are a couple things that you have incorporated, and don't share everything, but what are a couple things that you've incorporated that have really impacted how that structure works for you?
Yep.
Because there's a process and there's something that you do every morning, but it looks different, but it has a framework.
Yeah, the framework. I mean, the first thing is I get up earlier than I really quote unquote want to.
Yep, 9:30.
9:30. Said no parent ever.
She's up by 9:30 a.m. I have the kids off to school.
I'm up at noon. It's called brunch. We brunch with the Lord. Lord's not up.
Everybody's morning.
He's in Japan. He's in Japan right now. He doesn't care. So I didn't start this way, but when because we had just had Roxy, so I started earlier than I wanted. So it was 6:00, but now I'm up at 4:30 to 4:45. And the reason why is when I got up at 6, I gave myself 15 minutes. At first, and I was like so funny with God. I was like, God, you got 15 minutes. Like I was going to tell him, like, you need to do something in 15 minutes. And if you can show up in 15 minutes, then I'll keep doing it. And he did, right? Like I can't imagine being God for people like me, but he did. And so then 15 minutes turned into 30, and 30 was like, oh my gosh, like I actually craved more time after I got through the awkward and the hard and, the steps along the way. But so now for me, I get up at 4:30 to 4:45 every single morning. That's number one. And then number two is the minute that I get up, I immediately, no matter how I'm thinking or feeling, I'm like, we're not doing that yet. Because the process is designed to actually quiet the mind and quiet the emotions so I can align with heaven first. Where most of us get up and whatever thought we think we run with, or whatever emotion we feel we run with, right? Or we read an email and now we're all discombobulated, or we get on the news, or we get on social media and we wonder why we feel depleted or depressed or whatever it is. It's because we're looking at something that's instilling, right, regret, fear, or shame. So for me, any thought, any emotion, I just say you are not invited into the process yet. I'm not done.
Yeah. Well,
and so it's an alignment.
We've talked about it in the past, I think a lot of episodes ago, but I call it evil me.
Yeah.
Evil me always wakes up before you. And it talks about that. And a lot of people go to the sources and they're looking for something to validate them in some capacity. And whether it's the news or social media, Facebook, or whatever it is.
Facebook? Did you just say Facebook?
Yeah. Facebook, also known as Facebook. Facebook is trying to get some kind of validation or something from it. And so I think you have to consciously be aware of that. Like when you wake up, like you said, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be something that you didn't do, you should have done, or a fear, or like the enemy's already there, like ready to pounce on you right when you get up. And so if you're not consciously aware of that, of like, no, everything can wait. I'm not looking at anything, and I'm going to sit in a quiet space so I can actually be still and hear what God has to say.
Yeah.
and asking for godly wisdom, not, all the things of this world.
Not all the and that's where I had it wrong for so many years, is even when in my journaling time, I would, I'd start journaling and then it was like just all my opinions and all my thoughts and all my biases. And I would get done. And I'm like, this is exhausting. Like, I already know these things and I don't want to dwell on them and even more. Like, I don't want this to be a venting session. And so one of the scriptures that became a staple part of this process for me is out of Psalms. It's Psalms 55:17. It's my favorite verse. It's David. And I love David because he's so real. But he says in this verse, he says, every evening I will explain my need to him, and every morning I will move my soul towards him, which is God who he's talking about. Every waking hour I worship only him. He will hear me and respond to my cry. And that's where my anchored. Every night I would go, okay, God, I'm going to, here's my need. I'm going to give you my need, right? Because that's the hardest part about arising and aligning, is you have to actually go, I have a need. I have a need. And God, like, here it is. I'm going to give you my need as I fall asleep, because I'm not going to let this sit in my heart or in my mind. And then every morning it's like learning to move your soul to him, which I don't think we do. It's the soul is a piece of us that we just tend to hide. And so, and then what it does is it starts to train you throughout the day to go, okay, and now in between those two spots, I need to be worshiping him only. And then as I dug down, I mean, there's verse after verse after verse, Trav, because I was like, well, what does the Bible say about rising early? And is that important? Or is that just a nice Google search of like why it's important to get up early? And but to your point, there are so many heroes of the faith, whether they were having good days or bad days, whether they were going to war or they were confronting Pharaoh, or even Jesus on a mission, right? Even if you look at Mark chapter 1, verse 35, it says, very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed. Right? Genesis, it talks about Abraham. Genesis 19 says, early the next morning, Abraham got up and returned to the place where he had stood before the Lord. There is scripture after scripture after scripture after scripture, and this is something I include in the course, is there is so much to be said about getting up early. And I feel like the reason why is because it's almost like the tithing principle, which it's the first fruits of your day. It's the first fruits of our day that could be really easy to go get all the other things done. But it's like, okay, God, I'm going to give you the first fruits of my day, and I'm going to put them before you. And I'm going to let you do your part, and I'm going to get up. I'm going to do my part, but I'm going to give you what I have first.
And I think it's not necessarily, I think what you're saying too is not just getting up early. It's starting off your day with those right intentions and having that time and space.
Yeah.
Like, you could get up at 9 if you don't have to do anything with the kids, if you don't start work until 4:00 in the afternoon, like, it's all relative to you.
Yeah.
So it's not about just getting up and grinding and waking up early kind of thing. Cause that, I feel like that message is pretty like prevalent now. Like, I wake up and I do all this stuff. Well, that's absolutely fine. But if you don't have to, or if you work the night shift or whatever, it's just creating that space in the morning. So you're mastering your day, as opposed to you just going through the motions of that day.
Yeah.
And typically that day looks like the day before and the day before and the day before.
Yeah.
And more often than not, you're not getting the results and creating the life and the dream life that you have inside of you.
Well, and I think, again, it's in my mind when people go, well, I don't know that I have time to do this. It's never about time. It's always about misaligned priorities. And so again, when I say I started with 15 minutes, I started with 15 minutes. And sometimes that's because that's all I had, right? Especially because Roxy would get up, or the kids would get up early. And so, and then some of it was like, okay, that's just all that I have. And so to your point of yes, I feel like there is something about the early morning before. So yeah, you're right. Okay. If your day doesn't really start until 11, okay, sure, you could do this at 9, but I'd even take it a step further and just challenge people around, like, and yes, you go, well, I'm just a night owl. And I get that. And everybody runs their day differently, but I would suggest and propose that the way that we start our day, it is important. And getting up, it even talks a lot about that in the morning, is like to get up with intention. Proverbs talks about this all the time, is that when we get up with intention, and as opposed to, and I don't want to say sleeping in is lazy, so don't hear me wrong, but I need something that gets me out of bed in the morning. Right. And I need to be able to do that. So to your point, if I have to work backwards, but you don't not have time. We just don't have priorities, right? You just don't want it
always
enough.
Comes back to priorities.
Yeah.
I mean, if I didn't, if I didn't call you back, it's not because, like, I just, they're basically telling you, you just weren't a priority.
So yeah.
Like, I didn't call you back. That's why.
Yeah.
It wasn't because I didn't have time.
Yeah.
Because you have time for the things that are important to you.
Yeah.
Always. And I think in the morning, starting off your day in the right way. And like you said, it's all over. I've got a few scriptures as well. That I think it is And it's becoming even more, I've watched you over the last year, and it's becoming more prevalent. It's not about what I do. It's about the sacrifice and going to God for wisdom. Because with wisdom and understanding, like I can get way more done than by my own strength and willpower. And that's where I think that I don't agree with waking up early, grinding it out and me mentality. It's no, wake up, give God a certain amount of time and be still, and not like, just pray for 5 minutes and then run out the door. Like, God, I need this. God, I don't have this. And, bless me with this. And then it's like, you're done. No, like sit and be still to understand, like maybe you're doing something that is not in alignment.
And that's right. The key word. So that's the key word. It's the idea of like a rise in line. Cause I'm with you. This whole grinded out message, I think is creating burnout. And I see two sides of this, especially in the church right now. I see people who are burnt out or bored. It's right. They're just bored with their life. So I don't really have anything to get up. Or I'm living the dream. No, you're not. If you're living the dream, you're up early because you are excited about you're excited about what you're doing, or you're burnt out because you've been grinding it out for so long. And the Bible talks about this, is that when we actually shift into a faith-filled life, it's active rest, which means I'm not grinding it out. I'm arising and I'm aligning, because that from that alignment comes the wellspring of life. Yeah. Right. Because it's sustainable. It's a sustainable pace.
Yep. And it should be something there. Again, you have to change the mindset around it. If you've never done it, one, it's just practicing it. Maybe it starts with 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day. And you kind of add on to that, or, but it's like, when you go on vacation, you wake up without an alarm clock because you're so excited. Or when you're a kid and it's Christmas, like you're up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, you don't need an alarm clock because you're so excited.
Yeah.
So it's like, but why can't we live that day to a certain level? Like we're so excited to wake up, spend time with God, get some wisdom for that day, which will give you energy and, like divine appointments and connections and peace and joy, and then live out that day as opposed to just like, rolling over and going through the same, Groundhog's Day routine. Which that movie's always pops in my head when we talk about this kind of stuff.
Totally.
Like, so here's just a few scriptures that I found too. And it's like, it is so prevalent in the Bible, like as far as the morning time.
Yeah.
And obviously there's morning and night. There's a reason why you go to sleep and there's night.
Yeah.
To start fresh.
Yep.
But how are you starting that morning is so important. And as we started to look into this, and as you've been doing this the last year and spending more time of like, okay, where do I feel like I'm kind of falling short or not like totally getting the results I want? What do I need to adjust? So here's a few scriptures. So, oh Lord, in the morning, you hear my voice. In the morning, I plead my case to you and watch. Psalms 5:3. Let me hear of your steadfast love in the morning, for in you I put my trust. Psalms 143:8. And then in the morning, sow your seed. And then the evening, do not let your hands be idle, which is basically saying like work, like
that's so good.
You got to put some work into it. So spend time with me, show me the sacrifice, get some wisdom and understanding, and then go work with what I've put in you.
Yeah. It's so good. I mean, it's like this, the thing I tell people all the time is when something really matters to you, you arise and align. You just do. And it's been such an interesting dynamic, even circling back around with some of my coaching clients this last year that are in certain stuck patterns, even though they've gone through this entire framework and they know limiting beliefs and they know, right. They're working the plan, they're diving the plan in the dive, the whole thing. And so lately I've just been asking them, because we've been in just this creation of this course and we're truly seeing it change people's lives. Like this one piece has been so huge. And so I've just politely leaned in with a couple clients going, well, how are you starting your day? Because I'm sitting here going like, they're doing some of the things like, why the heck are they getting stuck? I'm not joking. We're talking people 40s, 50s, 60 years old. And they go, well, I grab my phone. And I'm like, you do what? They're like, well, I just turn on my phone. And I'm like, to do what? And they're like, well, I check my email. And then I do social media, and then I check the news. I'm not kidding. Like that is, and as they're saying it, I'm like, you know how sometimes when you stop doing things that don't good for you anymore,
Yeah.
you know, like you're like, oh, people still do that, you know, like Diet
Totally.
Coke. I'm sorry again, I'm gonna call a few people out, but Diet Coke was a fad for me, right? I even smoked a few cigarettes, fad. So when you see people drinking Diet Coke, or you're like, we still do that, like I thought we like moved through that phase,
Yeah.
right? So when I find them saying this, I'm like, so you literally, your alarm goes off and you grab your phone and you're on email, then on social media, and then you're checking the news. They're like, yeah, and I'm like, dude. And you wonder why.
Stop. Like, stop doing that. There's
And
your.
I want to give some grace because again, I'm
Yeah.
with you. When I first started this routine, I did not like it. It was very uncomfortable for me. Like
Mhm.
I had to actually like crawl through this barriers of like, oh, maybe I don't trust God. And I'm controlling my time. And I feel like I have to be doing something productive at all times. Like it was a ton of head trash that I had to work through and some soft spots within my heart that I needed healing. And so, and I go in depth in the course because I'm like, believe me, like where I am today is not where I started.
Mhm.
Now being on the other side of the peace that it has brought me, and you say, okay, if you're getting up in the morning and the first thing you're doing is you're checking email and you're checking social media and you're checking the news, like that is the last thing that we should be doing
Mhm.
until we are ready with the right mind and the right heart to be able to tackle the things of this world.
Mhm.
Like we can't afford to do that first.
And that's why it's so important to be in a community or be a part of, a group that are wanting to move forward and to live out their dreams, their God-given
Mhm.
dreams, because that simple thing, you could be doing it and it's so natural to you that you obviously aren't thinking about it, but when someone says that, you're like, "Oh, duh." Like that makes so much sense. Like why am I poisoning my brain right when I get up with all of this negativity and fear-based content or judgment or comparison, whatever, like especially with social media, as opposed to saying, no, 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 like I just may be quiet, not do
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
And just like, and then if the enemy comes in and evil me pops up and I got to do this and I got to do this. No, no, no. Like that's the first battle
Yeah.
is just allowing yourself, one, not to do those habits that you're doing that you are now aware of. And then two is to like sit still.
Yeah.
Like it takes a little while for you then to get into that process of like totally shutting your mind down
Yeah.
because your body and your mind are like, no, I should be doing this. I need
Yeah.
to go look at this. I
Yep.
need to do this. And so you're already thinking ahead as far as no, 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 like nothing else matters
Yeah.
at this moment.
Yeah.
And I just need to be still. And what am I grateful for? What am I working on? What are my dreams? Making sure like what you are doing on a day-to-day basis is getting you to where you want to be
Yeah.
in a year, 5 years, 10
Yep.
years.
Yep. And that for me, again, that's why, if you in the show notes, we've got a link to this free mini course that we want to give to anyone. It's a lot of this is specifically designed for the ladies because it's coming from me, a lady balancing the juggle. But this is for men too. So this wasn't just created for men. But the idea here is to click on that link because I want to walk you through the actual framework of how I run my mornings because I think some people really do want a 1, 2, 3 step to really
Mhm.
figure out how to create a habit and a pattern. And then again, yes, make it your own. But we are going to gift you this free mini course, which includes a video and a PDF and access to the pages of my dream journal, which is so cool. So you'll get this, but in that mini course, which is called Arise and Align, you get to understand how to master your morning routine in just 15 minutes a day, which is really cool. So
Yeah, and I would absolutely say it's not a guy girl like, and especially even the journal. I use the journal myself, and it's not like princesses and flowers and rainbows. Like it works for everybody.
yeah,
So as a couple, I would encourage you to do it. Or if you're a man, like get the journal or get the free download and watch the video and start doing something different than what you're doing if you're not getting the results and truly moving forward towards the dreams that you feel like you're called to live out.
Yeah. So we hope that this encourages you, reminds you, stops you poisoning your brain, as Travis says it. Stop poisoning your brain and join us not only this year, but maybe for the rest of your life and just learning how to arise and align and master your morning routine. Hey there, ladies. And yes, I did say ladies, I have a question for you. Do you feel overwhelmed with uncertainty or a lack of clarity as you head into your day? Or maybe you struggle with the anxiety of wanting more, but not knowing how to make the necessary changes in the midst of being a mom, raising baby, grocery shopping, all the things, but you're ready. You're ready to wake up feeling focused and aligned with the dreams that God has given you so you can wholeheartedly pursue what matters most in your faith, family, and career. If that's you, then I want to gift you with a free mini course where I literally give you my morning routine for success. That's right. Being a mom of 5 under the age of 9, I know firsthand how important our mornings are. And with my proven faith-based daily routine, you too can align your actions and your dreams in just 15 minutes a day. This morning routine is not just about getting up early. It's about cultivating the right mindset, heart set, and dream set that will encourage you and equip you in arising and aligning every morning. Click on the link below and you can receive this free gift today. Don't spend the rest of your life just dreaming about the life you want. Arise to the challenge and create the life you want one morning at a time.